Welcome to Trading Lounge and the Asian report, and we're going to have a look at the S&P and the DAX and the Australian market, and maybe Combank and some currencies if we've got time. So look, in the S&P 500 here, we've been looking at this, or to squash all this up, we've had this really nice move from wave 4 all the way up to wave 1 here. So we're looking for a corrective pattern to emerge here, as you know, maybe. And yeah, it appears we've got the first 5 waves down, so we're looking for a bounce and then down again here. Now, the European market is actually a little bit different. And before I go there, it's also possible for the European market to retrace more as well, in line with the US market, but obviously one of them is not right. That's what we're sort of looking at here. On the DAX here, we've got it labelled a little bit differently, where we have an A and a B and a C wave. And, you know, the Australian market really works quite closely to the European markets as well. You know, we could just have this A, B and C wave here and then done and dusted and move up from there into wave 5 here, well, the DAX anyway. But of course the Australian market can follow this, and it's being pushed up by the US markets as well. So yeah, we have this correction that in the S&P 500 is probably not completed. In the DAX for wave 4 it's probably completed. And in the Australian market here, that we've got this nice move up here on the 2-hour chart here. We've been counting 5 waves up there, and we're looking for a correction, and the correction can pull back into this area here. I kind of wouldn't hold my breath about that, because all the retracements are being quite shallow, but at the same time we need to note it down, and then we need to work through the count here. Now obviously if this market makes a new high above wave B here, then we're going to be continuing higher. And, you know, realistically, that coming up to 5,300 is the top of group 1, minor group 1. So we've got 100, 200 and 300. So we know that if support is found, you know, a nice tested support on top of 5.3, then it sets the target for 5.5 after that. The normal process in a market is to come up to the level, react in 3 waves, then have a little 5-wave structure to the upside, creating the first high above the level, and then the ABC. So that would be pretty much in line with the European market. So we need to keep a close eye on that, and that would become apparent if this high here got taken out here. Then we would follow that pattern. But as it goes, we need to stay at least below the trend line here and look lower here as well. But this does have the same pattern as the DAX that we just looked at. A bit rough and ready, but basically the A wave, the B wave and the C wave to this point here being the low here, and that would count as 1 and 2 and 3. Very dodgy wave 4 here, but wave 5 coming into here. So a couple of things here. Support on this level here, which is the 5,230. So this is also a group 1 as well, but it's on sub-level, so 10, 20 and 30. So the more that you can see support on the sub-level here, then well, that's your base, it's your foundation for moving up from that point. Now, this trend line comes along here, and it also tucks into the 61.8% retracement level from this high here. So just be a little bit mindful of that space in there. You can expect a correction. You know, if you start seeing the market correct across this level here, the midpoint, the 50, then, you know, if it moves up to that midpoint and reacts there, don't be too quick to turn bearish, because just allow that to play out across here, and that 50 as support here takes it up to the next level there. Okay, so in terms of trading today, if the market's going to pop up, then we need to look at the 30 there as the support, and you want it tested support. Trading above it is not enough. It's got to be coming back and check and test it. Do you know what I mean? When you got your first high there, then you can move from there. But of course, depends when you're looking at it, and you know, there's always the morning squeeze as well. So yeah, also to the banks too. If we just have a quick look at Combank here, you know, Combank, we were looking basically wave 4 low here, and it does appear we've got 5 waves up here. So we've got the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here. So we're also here, we're looking for a corrective pattern as well here in 3 waves. So we don't really have that just yet. We have a bit of a start on it, but we should see something in even if to that point here. So still a little bit sort of reluctant here, but at the same time we need to trade what we see. So if that new high that old high there, if that gets breached here, then you need to be long from that point, okay? Because you need to stay with the trend as such, okay? So yeah, that's that. And I'd also want to talk about some currencies as well. We don't normally talk about that or bring the currencies in here, but the question sort of arises, which is the strongest market in Australia? Is it the Australian dollar, or is it the ASX 200 cash market? And what governs those markets is always a bit of a question that's sort of asked. So basically, the way that I understand it, and it could be totally wrong, but the way I understand it is basically in the world, countries and major players need to park money, and it's all based off getting their interest rate off that money, and that really brings in the first good old-fashioned trade, the old carry trade, borrowing money for zero credit basically, and zero money, and lending it to a country that's got, or a market that's got interest rates. So the Australian yen is always been a bit of a correlation to the ASX 200, and of course the ASX 200 is pretty much governed off what the same pattern as the banks do, rather than the material sector, even though they both have a bit of a play in it. And as always, if you're trading the ASX 200, you really want to be looking at the material sector, well, Rio and BHP and some of the banks, to see if they're actually running together, because if they're running together, then the ASX 200 really swifts and moves along quite nicely. But if they're at odds, then it can be a choppy environment for the ASX 200. But it is this low here, for instance, on the 2-hour chart, was basically around the 8th of April here, give or take. You can do your own homework on that. I just really want to get the concept across here. The AU here, its low here was the AU yen here, was also on the roughly the 8th of April as well here. Now, we had a bit of a gap here, which is throwing the wave count out. This wave count here can certainly be positive as well. But what I normally do is, if I get a bit lost on this, in the bigger picture, this would, this carry trade situation would be in line with the ASX 200, as it's done for a long time. But we can also bring in other countries as well. So we can also bring the trade in from the US yen as well here, and you'll see that the 8th of April here. So it's out a little bit. It's out a little bit, but the main point is that what I want to put across here is that the Australian yen pattern up here was a bit sort of dodgy, so to speak, but this one here is more coherent, and it's a little bit more positive in terms of we've got up for 1 here and back to 2 here, then we've got 1 and 2 here, then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 here for the third wave here. We'll have the fourth wave here. I don't know if this fourth wave's finished yet either. I haven't pulled it apart on a tick chart, so we may end up getting some, something like that before we get up here, but it's just really to put that that concept across here. So you can, because if you're trading the ASX 200, you want to be looking, you want to have the US yen up, and you want to have the Aussie yen up, and you want to have the Australian dollar up, and the ASX 200 and a couple of the banks as well, just to see where it's pulsing to, and what's driving it, and what's leading, and what's following, and so on and so on. All right, sorry to yak on too much, but I thought that could be helpful for people on the ASX 200. Alrighty, cheers.